Hey, there's a few things I wanted to share with you in this video. The first thing is that I only have 2 practices available this week. The first one is on Tuesday evening at 6:30, and that one does require an RSVP. It's a little over half full right now, so when you're watching this, if you want to come, just please let me know. The other one is a chair yoga practice, and that is on Wednesday morning in Canfield. The second thing I wanted to remind you of is that at the end of this month, which is Thursday, is September 1st, I'll be doing a drawing from the entire attendance of the month of August. And I have 3 of these books that I'm giving away. This is a devotional that was written by my friend Jody, and she's offered me a few to give away. I had offered you guys, if you came to practice, you would automatically be entered into a drawing to win that. And if you brought somebody brand new who had never been to my yoga practice before, that you would also get an extra entry for them. They would get an entry, but you could get a second one. So I'll be doing that drawing probably on Thursday or Friday, but just know that these 2 yoga practices this week are the last possible entries into that. Lastly, I wanted to share with you a little piece of this devotional that she wrote, because I think sometimes we presume that someone who is following Jesus automatically has the same story as maybe somebody else we knew that followed Jesus. Each one of us has a very different story, but ultimately, I think it's really important that we recognize that no single story is exactly the same, and you may have an assumption about even my story, and I'm not sharing with you my story today, but I am offering you a little bit of Jody's story that she put in the back of this devotional. I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs of this, and bear with me here because I think that you'll find it incredibly refreshing, especially if you're someone who has struggled with either Christianity or the church or other Christians. She writes here, "We may not agree on who Jesus was and is, but his history is a fact. Can the questions that he asked change the way that we all interact with others every day, in the places that we go, in the things that we say, to those that we encounter as we journey? It certainly did for his disciples, and more it is for me." She says, "Over the years, as I grew in my religious experience, it became more about helping and serving, which was good, but sometimes it was about following a set of rules and guidelines that left my mind narrow and leaning towards judgment. Oh, but God. Perspective and life always shifts with the phrase that starts, but God. Because God never leaves us in a place of non-growth. But God wouldn't leave me in a space of judgment and fear. I can never truly say that I've arrived." She does go into some of her story of what occurred for her. She says, "I can never truly say that I've arrived. Can any of us, really? And yet I can say I have returned from those dark nights, those desert wanderings, those deep fragmented recesses, to a place where I can stand again with a greater sense of wonder and curiosity. I have found the rules I once followed to be limiting and not accepting of others. I have found a deeper sense of God's presence in practices that other Christians have judged and condemned as wrong. I've also found profound healing in some of those same practices, and therefore I know that they're a gift of love from the divine source. If you've experienced that same condemnation, judgment, or trauma, I am sorry. I cannot speak for others' words or actions, but I believe in my heart that Jesus would be deeply saddened by the words and actions of those who have harmed us, those who claim to be his disciples, as well as those who want nothing to do with him. I pray in this book you've found a different Jesus, that perhaps the one you may have countered through some Christians and churches out there, that instead you discovered a man who loved and loved deeply, who accepted the fallen and downtrodden with mercy, the saint and the sinner in equal regard, and welcomed those whom others would reject based on appearance, behavior, or belief. This resonates with me because I too have people in my world that have walked away from the church and have walked away from their relationships with others because of that hurt. And if that's you, if you're listening to this right now, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what happened to you in the church. I'm sorry for what happened to you at the hands of those who said they followed closely. But please, take another look at Jesus. We as people were never intended to be a perfect representation of Christ. And I pray that you would not let the behavior of others keep you from Jesus. Thanks for listening.